Namaste. Welcome for Zen Yoga's Uttanasana, Standing Power Fold. This is a dynamic opening of the back body. In Zen Yoga, we consider the bladder meridian. We'll learn that along the way. But I am going to be opening along the spine, the back of the neck, and the hamstrings and down the calves. I would want to start from Tadasana, so always finding that same grounding. Feet should be parallel, they should be straight. Again, just like our Tadasana, if we need more stability, the feet can go wider. If we're advancing in our stability, they can go more narrow. With Uttanasana here, eventually, of course, the posture is done with the feet together. But that's asking that the hamstrings are pretty open. Again, you can start with a wider footing if you need to. We'll start, of course, in the middle road. This is for the average hamstring, okay? Feet should be straight, four corners of the feet. Ball of the foot, inside, outside of the heel should be level. Knees should be bent, tailbone should be down. Lifting in the low belly, nothing changed here. So this action, low ribs in, upper neck, sternum, collarbones open. Energy flows through the throat chakra, down the spine, scapula to the spine, elbows float, chin tucks, and back of the head, draw into the back of the head and up. Always starting with that foundation. Typically, we'll raise our arms, come up, create a good length. So we can just lift the ribs off the side, off the low torso. So here I'm starting to create space. Uttanasana will have a dynamic action and lengthening of the side body. So your side body goes from your hips to your armpits. I'm trying to create a length here. So as I lift the arms, it's not about lifting the shoulders as much as it is. You'll see I rotate the arms and use it to lift the sternum and root the tailbone, creating that space. Get a good lift, inhale, inhale, then hips slide back. I'll do this from the side as well. Swan dive, flat back, starting to come forward, working the fold. I can bring the hands down to the floor. Folding in on the first exhalation. Now, Uttanasana, you'll work with a couple breaths. Inhaling forward out of the pose ever so slightly, and exhale, folding more into the pose. Inhaling, you can even work with a partway lift. I'll lift partway, create space between the armpits and the hips, along the torso, and keep the low core engaged. Long spine. Then try to fold at the thigh crease. We'll work on that in a moment. Coming down. Here, if I inhale, lengthen. Again, creating this length. It can't be short and scrunchy in the side body. I have to have length. Use blocks under the hands if needed. Put the hands either on the floor or the blocks, but whatever you need to do to get that length. Knees stay micro bend. You'll see here that I'm not trying to fold at the waistline or the top of the pants. As much as I'm trying to roll the thigh crease over, I'm actually trying to work here the pelvic arch or the pelvic hips. I'm trying to work that. It's actually the iliac crest, okay? So I'm trying to work that over the femur bone. So I'm trying to get this movement. Here's the femur bone, long bone. Here's the head. If this is the bone, here's the head of the femur bone. And I'm trying to get this hip socket to roll. So I'm not trying to fold here at the core or at the back, as much as I'm trying to get this length. So I can even work the posture. Put the hands in the thighs. I'm going to push the hands and thighs back, lengthen. And then I can exhale and fold. Keep the knees bent, especially if the back is tight or the hamstrings are tight. So you'll see sometimes if I round the back or straighten the legs, it rounds the back. And you'll see that through the thoracic spine. One of the main goals here is actually to create a lengthened spine and that flattening here. So you'll want to make sure that you or your students, when they're doing the posture this way, that the alignment isn't really there. Ultimately, chakra alignment. So here I'm trying to create, if I bend the knees, I can flatten the back, and that thoracic spine comes in. Then I can reach forward. Now, if I can straighten the legs and keep the back flat, I can continue. But if I straighten the legs and it makes the back round, I'll need to come out. So we're not working for our ego here, we're working for alignment. So I'll bend the knees generously, I'll create that space, and ultimately I'm trying to lengthen the torso over the front of the thighs. The last thing I'll do is bring my head into my shin. You see that pretty some dynamic Uttanasana poses. Here, we're just working with the middle road. So I'm going to inhale, lengthen, flatten that thoracic spine. Bend the knees if need to, or straighten if I'm okay. I'll have a micro bend either way. Exhale and try and drape. And then I can fold. But try not to create too much round. Can I still lengthen that sternum forward? Remember how, when we're standing, that sternum doesn't collapse. Well, same in this pose. That sternum doesn't get to collapse. When I was here, that sternum had to kind of draw up. I'm going to keep that sternum lift drawing. Even when I'm coming down, it's as though the front of the sternum is reaching more for the floor than folding inward. So I have to practice with that. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, try and fold. In. Out. To come out of Uttanasana, you want to be very mindful. It's very common for low back issues to be aggravated with this posture. I assume we kept the core engaged the whole time, but it's a good thing to just check in and remember. To come out of the pose, it's best if you deeply bend the knees and sit back in the hips. You can come up, hands can be on the side of the thighs if you need support. This is a great place to work that thighs back. Now, once you have the torso vertical, then you can straighten the legs and return to Tadasana and Samastiti. Thank you for joining for Zen Yoga's Uttanasana. Namaste.